The love and hip-hop drama just reached a boiling point that no one could have predicted. In an unprecedented turn of events, Kirk Frost has been banned from the show after an explosive and jaw-dropping confrontation with a fan that's left the entire reality TV world in shock. What started as a typical meet and greet spiraled into chaos when Kirk, normally the center of family drama, found himself at the center of a public meltdown. Fans watched in disbelief as the heated exchange between Kirk and a die-hard fan escalated into a full-blown fight, with accusations flying, emotions running high, and cameras rolling. But this isn't just about a fan getting under Kirk's skin. The fight uncovered a darker truth, a side of Kirk Frost that no one saw coming. As whispers spread and the media frenzy intensified, the question everyone is asking: could this be the end of Kirk's love and hip-hop career? His explosive actions have left the network no choice but to take drastic measures. What led to this shocking moment? And what does it mean for his future on the show, his family, and his image? Stay tuned as we break down the explosive details of this unforgettable scandal. It was supposed to be a routine promotional event. Kirk Frost, the beloved yet controversial figure from Love and Hip Hop, was scheduled to make a public appearance at a local event in Atlanta. Fans were eager to meet him, take pictures, and maybe even get a glimpse of the man behind the on-screen drama. Kirk had always been known for stirring up trouble on the show, from his infamous cheating allegations to his complicated relationship with Rashida. But on this particular day, no one could have predicted that the drama would unfold off-screen, in front of a live audience. As Kirk entered the venue, fans were already buzzing with excitement. It wasn't just another appearance, it was love and hip-hop history unfolding right before their eyes. But what started as a light-hearted meet and greet quickly turned into a tense standoff. A fan, who had been waiting for hours, managed to get up close to Kirk. This fan wasn't there just to get an autograph. No, this fan had a bone to pick with Kirk. The conversation began innocently enough, but the fan was relentless. They started questioning Kirk about the authenticity of his storyline on Love and Hip Hop. "Is it true, Kirk, that you're faking everything for the cameras?" the fan asked. Kirk, who had dealt with criticism from fans and media alike for years, tried to laugh it off, but the question seemed to hit a nerve. "What are you talking about? I don't fake anything. This is my real life," Kirk responded, his tone already shifting. Fans around them started to notice the tension building. They whispered among themselves, exchanging glances as Kirk's smile began to fade. Kirk was known for being calm under pressure, but today was different. It wasn't just a random fan asking questions. This fan had been following Kirk's every move, dissecting his every word, and now they had a platform to confront him face to face. The fan wasn't done. They continued pressing Kirk, asking more pointed questions about his marriage to Rashida, his children, and the constant drama that seemed to follow him wherever he went. "You've been caught cheating on camera, Kirk. Why should we believe you? Why should we believe any of this is real?" The fan's voice grew louder, drawing more attention from the crowd. Kirk's eyes narrowed and his jaw clenched. This wasn't just a fan looking for answers. This was an attack on his character, and he wasn't going to let it slide. "I've had enough of this," Kirk muttered under his breath. His words were barely audible, but the anger in his voice was clear. At this point, security was already watching the exchange closely, ready to intervene if necessary. But Kirk wasn't backing down. He was fed up with the constant barrage of questions, the insinuations, and the public mockery he had endured for years. Kirk turned to face the fan, his posture tense, his eyes blazing with frustration. "You think you know everything about my life? You think you have the right to come at me like this in front of everyone? You have no idea what it's like to live under this microscope," Kirk snapped. The crowd fell silent. Some fans looked on in shock, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Kirk had always been a figure of drama, but this was different. There was a rawness in his voice, an intensity that was unsettling. The fan, however, wasn't backing down either. "You're a fraud, Kirk. Everyone knows it. You're just here for the fame, and we all see right through it," the fan shot back. The crowd started murmuring, some agreeing with the fan, others defending Kirk. But in that moment, the atmosphere turned hostile. What was supposed to be a fun fan interaction was now spiraling out of control. Kirk's face flushed with anger. He took a step toward the fan, his hands clenched into fists. Security immediately moved in, but it was too late. Kirk shoved the fan in a moment of pure rage, knocking them off balance. The fans stumbled backward, their eyes wide with shock. Kirk's emotions had boiled over, and in that instant, everything changed. The crowd gasped. Some fans cheered, others screamed for Kirk to stop. The scene had gone from a casual event to a full-blown spectacle in a matter of seconds. Security quickly rushed to separate the two, but the damage was done. Kirk had lost his cool, and the entire event had been caught on camera. The footage spread like wildfire across social media, with fans and media outlets alike weighing in on the explosive altercation. People couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Kirk Frost, the reality TV star known for his drama-filled life, had just turned a fan interaction into a scandal of epic proportions. As the dust settled, Kirk stormed off, leaving the scene in a huff. The fan, visibly shaken, was escorted out by security. The crowd was left in stunned silence, unsure of what had just transpired. For the fans who had come to see Kirk, it was a shocking turn of events. For the producers of Love and Hip Hop, it was a nightmare. Kirk had just crossed a line, and now the network was faced with a dilemma. How could they possibly continue to let someone with such a volatile temper represent their brand? The fallout from the incident began almost immediately. Within hours, rumors started circulating that Kirk had been banned from future Love and Hip Hop events. The producers, who had already been frustrated with Kirk's behavior in recent months, were reportedly furious. They had worked tirelessly to craft the perfect narrative for Kirk's storyline on the show, but this incident threatened to unravel everything. Kirk's publicist issued a statement later that evening, expressing regret over the incident, but also hinting that Kirk felt provoked by the fans' relentless questioning. Kirk is a human being, and like anyone, he has his limits. While we do not condone violence, Kirk was pushed to a breaking point by this fan's disrespect. The statement read. But this statement did little to calm the growing storm. Fans took to social media, voicing their opinions. Some sided with Kirk, understanding that the constant scrutiny must have taken its toll on him. Others, however, were outraged by his actions, calling for him to be removed from the show once and for all. As the story continued to develop, Love and Hip Hop fans found themselves divided. Some defended Kirk, believing that he had been provoked and that the fan had crossed a line. Others, however, felt that Kirk's actions were inexcusable and that he had lost the plot. The debate raged on, with no clear resolution in sight. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Love and Hip Hop producers were scrambling to figure out what to do next. Kirk had been a central figure on the show for years, but this latest incident might have been the final straw. The network's higher-ups were said to be considering whether Kirk's behavior had gone too far. Could they really continue to feature him on the show, given the public outcry? Or was it time to cut ties with Kirk Frost for good? The drama, as always, continued to unfold. But one thing was clear: Kirk Frost's future on Love and Hip Hop was now in serious jeopardy. And as the situation developed, fans eagerly awaited the next chapter in this shocking saga. What would happen next? Would Kirk face the consequences of his actions, or would he find a way to salvage his career and reputation? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: the drama surrounding Kirk Frost was far from over. As the fallout from Kirk Frost's explosive fan confrontation continued to dominate social media, the reality TV world was on edge. The fan incident had set off a chain of events that no one, including Kirk, could have foreseen. What seemed like a momentary lapse in judgment for Kirk was now a full-blown crisis, one that threatened to change the trajectory of his career on Love and Hip Hop. As more details about the incident emerged, the public's reaction was divided, but the consequences for Kirk seemed to be mounting by the hour. Within hours of the altercation, Love and Hip Hop fans took to their social media platforms, with some defending Kirk's actions, while others vehemently called for his removal from the show. Kirk has always been a fan favorite, but this was too much, tweeted one fan. There's a limit to what can be forgiven, and he crossed it. Meanwhile, others sympathized with Kirk, stating that the fans' disrespectful comments must have pushed him too far. If I were Kirk, I'd have snapped too, one user posted. Fans forget these stars are human beings too. However, the outcry wasn't limited to social media. Even fellow cast members were weighing in on the situation, adding fuel to the fire. While some, like Rashida, Kirk's wife, kept quiet on the matter for the time being, others spoke out against Kirk's behavior. Yandy Smith-Harris, a fellow love and hip-hop star who had witnessed Kirk's temper in the past, offered her take on the situation. Kirk needs to take accountability for his actions. Yandy said in an interview, "We all have our breaking points, but violence is never the answer." Her comments were a clear sign that Kirk's reputation was in serious jeopardy, and it wasn't just the fans who were questioning his place on the show. Meanwhile, Kirk's publicist was working overtime, trying to control the narrative and prevent the situation from spiraling further. A second statement was released, this time addressing the growing backlash. Kirk acknowledges that his actions were out of character, but he has also made it clear that he was pushed to his limit. He regrets what happened and is committed to working on himself moving forward. The statement was an attempt to soften the public's perception, but it did little to quell the rising tide of criticism. Behind the scenes, the producers of Love and Hip Hop were scrambling to make a decision about Kirk's future on the show. The network had invested a lot of time and money in Kirk's storyline, but the altercation had put them in an incredibly difficult position. On one hand, Kirk was one of the show's most prominent stars, someone whose drama-filled personal life had brought in ratings year after year. On the other hand, the network had to consider the message they were sending to their audience. Could they really continue to promote someone who had been involved in such a public and violent incident? Sources close to the production claimed that there were heated meetings taking place behind closed doors, with producers and executives debating whether Kirk should be suspended or even permanently removed from the show. Some felt that his behavior was simply too much of a liability, while others believed that he could be redeemed with the right apology and a chance to make amends. This is a business decision, not a personal one, one insider explained. If Kirk is banned, it could affect ratings, but if we let him stay, we risk alienating viewers who might be disgusted by his actions. As the tension continued to build, Kirk himself was struggling to process the whirlwind of events. The man who had been at the center of so many love and hip-hop controversies was now facing the most serious scandal of his career. It wasn't just about being caught cheating or having heated arguments on camera anymore. Kirk had physically confronted a fan, and that was a line that couldn't easily be crossed without consequences. In the days following the incident, Kirk stayed out of the public eye, issuing brief statements through his team, but refusing to engage directly with the media. He was reportedly devastated by the backlash and seemed genuinely remorseful for his actions. But the question remained, was it too little, too late? Rashida, who had long stood by Kirk through thick and thin, was now faced with a difficult choice. As Kirk's wife and the mother of his children, she had always been the voice of reason in their turbulent relationship. But this time, things felt different. Kirk had always walked a fine line between being the lovable bad boy and crossing into outright unacceptable behavior, but this incident felt like a tipping point. Was this the final straw for her? The couple had faced their fair share of drama, from Kirk's infidelity to the ups and downs of their marriage, but this was a new level of conflict. In private, Rashida was said to be torn. Sources close to the couple revealed that she was deeply hurt by Kirk's actions. While she had always been the one to defend him, she struggled to find the right words to explain to their children why their father had behaved this way. "It's hard," Rashida reportedly told a close friend. "We've been through so much together, but this feels different. He let his anger take over, and now it's not just about us anymore. It's about his career, his reputation, and what kind of example he's setting for our kids." The family was left divided. Kirk's actions had ignited a firestorm of debate, not just within the love and hip-hop community, but also among his closest family and friends. Some urged Kirk to step back from the spotlight and take responsibility for his actions, while others believed that the show had pushed him too far. His cousin and love and hip-hop cast member Scrappy voiced his concerns in an emotional post. "Kirk, my family, but man, we all got limits," Scrappy said. "I know what it's like to be under pressure, but this isn't the way." As Kirk struggled with the fallout, the Love and hip-hop producers made a crucial decision. In a statement released to the media, they confirmed that Kirk would be placed on indefinite suspension, pending an investigation into the incident. The network did not elaborate on whether this meant a permanent ban, but the fact that Kirk was being sidelined was a clear indication that his future on the show was in jeopardy. Kirk's suspension marked the beginning of what promised to be a turbulent and uncertain future. With Kirk now in limbo, the question that everyone was asking remained: would Kirk Frost be able to come back from this scandal, or had he crossed a line that he couldn't come back from? The drama was far from over, and the fate of Kirk's career hung in the balance. In the world of love and hip-hop, nothing was ever certain, and fans eagerly waited to see what would happen next. Would Kirk return to love and hip-hop after a period of reflection and redemption, or was this the final chapter in his time on the show? As Kirk Frost's suspension from love and hip-hop continued to dominate headlines, the question on everyone's mind was whether or not he would be able to redeem himself. Behind the scenes, the tension was building to an almost unbearable level, with whispers of potential exits, behind-the-scenes drama, and the possibility that Kirk's career might be over for good. Kirk had always been known for his fiery temper and his ability to stir up drama, but this time, the stakes were higher than ever before. The fan incident had crossed a line that could not easily be ignored. Kirk was no longer just a controversial character. He was a liability, and the future of his place on love and hip-hop hung in the balance. As the days dragged on, the situation became more complicated. Kirk's team was working overtime to repair his image, and they were exploring every possible avenue to restore his standing in the public eye. There were meetings with public relations experts, crisis management specialists, and even legal advisors. Kirk's publicist, who had been with him through numerous controversies in the past, was now on a mission to make sure that the narrative didn't completely turn against Kirk. They issued a series of statements, each one more apologetic than the last, but they were met with mixed reactions. "We recognize Kirk's behavior was unacceptable, and he deeply regrets his actions," read the latest statement. "He is committed to making amends and learning from this incident." Kirk is taking time to reflect on his actions and his future. But even with these carefully crafted apologies, the damage had already been done. The fans, especially those who had been loyal to Kirk for years, were now questioning whether they could continue to support him. Some felt betrayed, while others expressed disappointment in Kirk's lack of self-control. "I can't believe he would do something like that," one fan tweeted. "I've been watching Kirk for years, and this is just too much." The media coverage was relentless, with tabloids, blogs, and news outlets publishing every detail of the incident. Some stories were sympathetic, portraying Kirk as a man who had snapped under pressure, while others painted him as a violent, unpredictable figure who couldn't control his temper. "Kirk Frost's career in ruins," read one headline. "Is this the end of his love and hip-hop run?" It wasn't just about the fan incident anymore. The media had latched onto the broader narrative of Kirk's troubled past, dredging up old scandals, controversies, and legal issues. It was as if everything Kirk had done in the past was now being used to judge him in the present. The pressure was mounting, and Kirk's future seemed to be slipping further and further out of his control. Meanwhile, inside the love and hip-hop camp, the cast members were divided on how to handle the situation. Some were sympathetic to Kirk, knowing the pressures of living in the public eye and the toll it could take on a person's mental state. "Kirk's my boy, and I know he's going through it right now," Scrappy said in an interview. "I've seen him struggle, and I know he regrets what happened. But at the end of the day, it's about what happens next. He's got to take responsibility and make things right." Others, however, weren't so forgiving. Yandy, who had always been an advocate for maintaining professionalism and respect, made it clear that she couldn't condone Kirk's actions. "What Kirk did was unacceptable," Yandy stated. "We all have to be accountable for our actions, especially when we're in the public eye. It's not just about us anymore. It's about the message we're sending to our fans." Behind closed doors, Rashida was struggling with how to support her husband while also facing the very real consequences of his actions. She had always been Kirk's rock, but this time, things felt different. The fan confrontation had exposed cracks in their relationship, and even though she was trying to be supportive, she couldn't help but wonder if this was the tipping point. She had been through so much with Kirk: infidelity, betrayal, and countless ups and downs, but this was a new level of fallout. She was worried not just for Kirk's career, but for the impact this would have on their family and their children. In private conversations with close friends, Rashida expressed her frustration and pain. "I don't know what to do anymore," she confided. "I love Kirk, but how many times can I keep forgiving him for things like this? It feels like he's always making excuses for his behavior, and I'm the one who has to pick up the pieces." Friends were quick to offer their advice, with some urging Rashida to stand by Kirk's side, while others encouraged her to take a step back and reevaluate the situation. The advice was conflicting, and Rashida felt more alone than ever. "I just want him to take responsibility and change," she said, "but I'm starting to wonder if he can." As the days wore on, Kirk's suspension from Love and Hip Hop seemed like it could stretch on indefinitely. The network had made it clear that they were taking the situation seriously, but it was unclear when or even if Kirk would be allowed to return. The producers had their hands tied. On one side, they had the viewers, who were demanding accountability, and on the other side, they had Kirk's long-standing presence on the show, which had been instrumental in its success. Would they risk losing a fan favorite? Or would they decide that his behavior was simply too much to overlook? The decision was not an easy one, and it seemed that no matter what direction they chose, someone would be upset. Meanwhile, Kirk was trying to focus on personal growth. Reports surfaced that he had entered therapy, seeking help to address his anger issues and work through the underlying factors that had contributed to the altercation. "This is a wake-up call for Kirk," a source close to the family said. "He's taking it seriously, and he knows he needs to change. He's finally willing to confront his demons." Whether this newfound commitment to personal growth was enough to repair his tarnished reputation, however, remained to be seen. As Kirk worked on his personal issues, fans and cast members alike continued to speculate about his future. Would he return to Love and Hip Hop as a reformed man, ready to make amends and prove himself? Or was this the final chapter in his story? The drama was far from over, and the questions about Kirk's future remained unresolved. The only certainty was that the scandal had forever changed the trajectory of his career. Now it was up to Kirk to decide whether he could make a comeback or whether he would be left behind in the wake of his own mistakes. The public's reaction to Kirk Frost's suspension from Love and Hip Hop had only grown more intense in the days following his altercation with a fan. The internet had exploded with mixed opinions, some defending Kirk, others calling for his permanent removal from the show. "He's always been a hothead, but this is too much," one fan tweeted. "He needs to take responsibility and stop using anger as an excuse. He's too old for this." Others were more sympathetic. "Kirk's been through a lot," another fan commented. "He's human. We all make mistakes, and he deserves a second chance." The ongoing debate was consuming social media, and it seemed that no matter where you stood, the drama surrounding Kirk's banishment was inescapable. For Kirk, the pressure was unbearable. Every time he checked his phone, new headlines were waiting for him. New accusations, more footage from the fan incident, more articles dissecting his past behavior. He could feel his career slipping away, and with it, his sense of self-worth. "I've always been the one to keep things real, but this feels like a nightmare," Kirk said in an emotional interview. "I messed up, and now I have to live with the consequences. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I never wanted things to get this far. But now it's bigger than me." His words were sincere, but for many, the damage had already been done. His words, his actions, and his history of outbursts painted him as someone who was incapable of controlling his temper. And for some, that was simply unforgivable. As Kirk's publicist continued to spin damage control, efforts to repair his reputation were met with skepticism. Behind the scenes, the pressure to fix things was relentless. The network had already started to test the waters for a potential replacement for Kirk. Producers were having private discussions, bringing in new names to fill the void Kirk had left. There was talk of fresh blood, someone who could bring a new dynamic to the show, and with it, a fresh wave of drama. Love and hip-hop had been successful for so long because of its unpredictable raw nature, but with Kirk out of the picture, could the show maintain the same energy? The future of the franchise seemed uncertain. Could they move on from one of their most controversial stars, or would Kirk's absence leave a hole too big to fill? Meanwhile, Kirk's family was still reeling from the aftermath of the fight. Rashida had remained a constant presence in the media, speaking out in defense of her husband, but it was clear that she was struggling. Her social media posts were full of mixed emotions, with some showing her support for Kirk, while others seemed to hint at her growing frustration. "We've been through so much together," Rashida wrote in one post. But some things can't be overlooked. Her followers immediately started speculating. Was she beginning to doubt Kirk? Or was this just a reflection of the emotional roller coaster she was on? Many wondered if Rashida was standing by Kirk out of loyalty, or if she was just trying to hold on to her family despite the chaos. In a private conversation, Rashida revealed how torn she was. "It's hard. I love Kirk, but I also have to think about what's best for me and the kids. We've had so many ups and downs, but this feels different. This time, it's bigger than just us. This is affecting everything, our family, our careers, our reputation. I don't know how much more of this I can take." It was clear that Rashida's thoughts were weighing heavily on her, and while she hadn't yet made any drastic decisions, the cracks in their marriage were becoming more apparent. The public scrutiny, the constant media coverage, and the emotional toll of defending Kirk had left her exhausted. She had always been the strong one, but now it was Kirk who needed to find the strength to change. Kirk's behavior had sparked a wider conversation about toxic masculinity, anger management, and accountability within the celebrity culture. Experts were weighing in, discussing the long-term impact of the incident on Kirk's career and the message it sent to the public. "We live in a time where celebrities are held to a higher standard," a well-known psychologist explained. "Their actions are not just personal, they have a ripple effect." For Kirk, this is more than just a bad moment. It's a reflection of deeper issues that need to be addressed. The question is whether Kirk is willing to make that change, and whether the public is willing to forgive him for his past actions. As Kirk continued his therapy sessions, reports emerged that he was becoming more introspective. "It's not just about getting back to love and hip-hop," he said in an interview. "It's about figuring out who I am and what I want from life. I can't keep blaming everyone else for my mistakes. I need to take responsibility and fix what's broken inside me." While these words were encouraging, they raised even more questions. Could Kirk truly change, or was this all just part of his damage control strategy? Fans were divided, some applauding his commitment to self-improvement, while others accused him of only trying to salvage his career. "He's always been good at saying the right things," one fan commented, "but will he actually follow through?" As Kirk's redemption arc played out in the media, his future on Love and hip-hop remained uncertain. The network had made no official announcement about his return, but rumors were swirling. Some sources suggested that Kirk might return to the show in a limited capacity, while others claimed that his time on the series was over for good. Love and hip-hop producers, known for their love of drama and conflict, had a history of embracing controversial stars, but Kirk's situation was different. He wasn't just another reality TV villain. He was a father, a husband, and a public figure who had crossed a line. Could the network risk bringing him back, knowing that his behavior could spark another public scandal? On the other hand, Kirk's banishment had created a power vacuum within the show's dynamic. The other cast members were eager to fill the void. Drama had already begun to brew between the remaining stars, with each one vying for more screen time and attention. This only heightened the sense of uncertainty surrounding Kirk's future on the show. Who would be the new breakout star? Could anyone fill the space that Kirk had left, or was his absence going to fundamentally change the show? The producers were navigating a delicate balance, trying to keep things interesting while also dealing with the fallout from Kirk's explosive actions. As Kirk spent more time away from the spotlight, he began to wonder if he could ever truly recover from this scandal. The constant media attention, the public scrutiny, and the emotional toll of his actions had left him feeling isolated. "I never realized how much of my life was defined by the show," Kirk admitted. "Now that I'm not a part of it, I'm questioning everything. What do I have left?" The journey to redemption would not be easy, and it was clear that Kirk had a long road ahead of him. Whether or not he would ever return to love and hip-hop was still up in the air, but one thing was certain: his future had been forever changed by that explosive encounter with a fan. The public's perception of Kirk Frost would never be the same, and the question of whether he could overcome this scandal and regain his place in the spotlight remained unanswered. As Kirk Frost's name continued to make waves across social media, the final chapter of his love and hip-hop saga seemed to be slowly unraveling. With each passing day, his future on the show appeared more and more uncertain. His emotional struggles, coupled with the growing criticism, led him to question if he could ever escape the public's judgment. "The fans have spoken," Kirk confessed in a final, heartbreaking interview. "But now I need to find my way back to being the man I used to be, the one my family can depend on. I've lost so much. My career, my dignity, and the trust of the people who loved me. I just need a second chance." But would the public give Kirk the opportunity to rebuild his life, or would the damage be irreversible? In a surprising turn of events, love and hip-hop producers called Kirk in for a confidential meeting. Whispers of his possible return began to circulate, but this time the stakes were much higher. Kirk had to prove that he could truly change, both for his family and his fans. But what could he do to restore the shattered trust? The producers told him that they were considering bringing him back, but only under certain conditions. Kirk would have to undergo a series of public interviews, showcasing his transformation and making amends for his actions. The network's decision to even entertain the possibility of his return was a gamble. Could Kirk deliver on his promise of change, or would the drama follow him back to the show, creating even more chaos? Meanwhile, Rashida was facing her own personal dilemma. Having stood by Kirk throughout the scandal, she was left grappling with whether it was time to walk away or stay committed to the family she had worked so hard to build. "It's been an emotional roller coaster," Rashida admitted in an exclusive interview. "I've tried to be there for Kirk, but I have to ask myself, what's best for me and our kids? Do I really want to go down this road again? I'm not sure." Rashida's doubts were evident, but she wasn't ready to make any final decisions just yet. She had always been the one to keep their family together, but now the weight of the decision seemed too much to bear alone. Fans also weighed in, with many continuing to express their disappointment with Kirk's actions. "He's a hypocrite," one fan tweeted. "He preached family and loyalty, and now look at what he's done. He's not the man he used to be." But others came to his defense, urging people to give Kirk a chance to redeem himself. "We all make mistakes," another fan wrote. "If Kirk is genuinely trying to change, then we should give him that opportunity. He's human, just like the rest of us." The debate was ongoing, and it seemed as though the public was as divided as ever. In the midst of all the speculation, a bombshell dropped. An insider from the Love and Hip Hop production team revealed that Kirk was, in fact, being considered for a new role, one that would allow him to return to the show in a completely different light. "We're thinking about giving Kirk a chance to redeem himself, but it's not going to be easy," the insider stated. "We want him to address his mistakes head-on, and we're working with him on a storyline that focuses on his growth. It's a risky move, but we're willing to take it if Kirk can prove that he's truly changed." The idea of Kirk returning in a redemption arc was both exciting and controversial. It would mean that love and hip-hop was willing to take risks and challenge the norms, but it also raised questions about whether such a dramatic shift could truly heal the damage he had caused. Kirk's camp remained tight-lipped about the offer, but the pressure on him was mounting. "It's not about the money or the fame," Kirk said during a private moment with his family. "It's about fixing what's broken. I've hurt people, and I need to show them that I'm better than what they saw that day. If the network gives me this chance, I'm going to make sure I don't blow it." With his eyes set on redemption, Kirk had a long road ahead. But this time, he was more determined than ever to prove that he could rise above the controversy. On the other hand, the rest of the Love and Hip Hop cast was dealing with the fallout of Kirk's scandal in their own way. Some were sympathetic, but others felt that the entire situation had overshadowed their own storylines. "It's hard to get attention when everyone's focused on Kirk's drama," one cast member confided. "It's like no one cares about anything else." The tension among the cast members had been growing for weeks, with some wondering if Kirk's return would be a blessing or a curse. While Kirk was consumed with the idea of repairing his image, the other stars were focused on their own futures. Would Kirk's return steal the spotlight, or would it be the catalyst for a new season of drama? As the days went by, Kirk began to show signs of real change. He was more focused, more present with his family, and most importantly, he was taking responsibility for his actions. He began participating in charity events and speaking out about his struggles with anger management. "I'm not proud of what happened," Kirk said in one of his interviews, "but I'm working hard to make things right. This is just the beginning of my journey, and I won't stop until I've earned back the trust of those I've hurt." His efforts were slowly gaining traction. Fans, although skeptical, began to see a different side of Kirk. It wasn't enough to erase the past, it was a start. The Love and Hip Hop producers, recognizing the potential for a new chapter, began discussing how to incorporate Kirk's transformation into the show. They envisioned a storyline where Kirk would work through his personal issues, trying to rebuild his relationship with Rashida and confront the demons from his past. It would be raw, emotional, and real, just the kind of content Love and Hip Hop was known for. But would the audience accept this new version of Kirk? Could he truly overcome the scandal and win back the respect of his fans? As the show's next season loomed closer, the final decision about Kirk's return was still up in the air. But for Kirk, the fight wasn't over. "I'm not giving up," he said, his voice filled with determination. "I'm going to show the world that I'm more than just the guy who had a meltdown. I'm going to prove that I can be a better man, a better husband, a better father, and a better person. It's not going to be easy, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes." And so the stage was set for Kirk's potential return to Love and Hip Hop. Whether he would succeed or fail remained to be seen, but one thing was clear: his journey was far from over. The drama, the tension, and the emotional turmoil would continue to captivate fans as they watched Kirk fight for his redemption and for his place in the world of reality TV. The end. For now, what do you think about Kirk's dramatic downfall and possible redemption? Do you believe he truly deserves a second chance, or is this just another attempt to grab attention? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more explosive updates on Kirk Frost and all your favorite Love and Hip Hop stars. If you want to stay in the loop with all the latest scandals, be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Remember, the drama is just getting started, and you won't want to miss what's coming next.